In this training, we're going to cover how to set up a Facebook page for your organization and how to get started using it. We're going to assume that you are working on a desktop computer or a laptop instead of a phone, because how to do this on a phone is a bit different. I think often people get started using Facebook by jumping right in and creating a page. But I would like to have you think first about a strategy. That should be your first step. So think about, what do you want to accomplish with your Facebook page? Why are you doing it? Some of the options that you could think about would be to inspire people, to get visitors interested in CASA and FCRB, or just interested in child advocacy generally. You might want to engage, get visitors interested in your page. That's a little different than getting them interested in the cause. And you might want to create relationships with the people who visit your page and interact with them by responding to their posts and to the messages that they send you. You might also want to inform people, and you can inform people about all kinds of things, about events, about whatever is happening in your area, about milestones that you have accomplished or that we've accomplished generally. You can inform about ideas. You can post statistics. I would be careful about that. You probably want to do that sometimes. But you might also want to entertain people a little bit. And I would think that your primary piece of strategy would be to recruit. So think your way through. What do you want to accomplish? Then, who do you want to visit the page? Who do you expect your visitors to be? And how are you going to get them there? How are you going to promote your page? So let's start by looking at how you set up your page. First of all, you must have a personal Facebook account before you can begin. This is a requirement of Facebook. So if you don't have a personal Facebook account, you're going to want to establish one. You have to create a business page. Now, just because it says business, that doesn't mean profit-making business. That's a word that Facebook uses for organizations in general. So according to their terms of service, first you have to have the personal Facebook account, and then you create the business page according to their terms of service. And you will create this business page, and you can go to the link there. The link is active, so you could take a look at that. So you're going to start by naming your page, and you probably want it to be CASA of something or FCRB of something, because there are lots and lots of other CASA pages, for instance. You probably want to make sure that the name of your page is unique. It can't be CASA of Iowa. It's got to be CASA of Southwest Iowa, for instance. Then you are going to suggest some categories, and I would suggest you can pick 3, and I would suggest these 3: government organization, social service, and child protective service. Then you're going to do a description. What is the page about? And this doesn't have to be very long, but it can be a description of your area, your organization. It probably should be a little bit more specific than the description of CASA or FCRB in general. So you start by creating the personal account, then create your business page, and you start with those 3 things: a page name, the categories, and a description. Before we go any further, let's talk about a few terms. These will just be helpful for you to know. First of all, let's talk about the 3 image file types. You probably already know these, but it can't hurt to go over it again. The JPEG, and it's usually written JPG, sometimes JPEG. That's a very common image format, and if you look at the top ICAB logo, the one with the white box, that's a JPEG. And typically you will find that white box around a JPEG. The image format that you're going to want to use the most is a PNG, and that's best for all kinds of digital applications. And a lot of the time you may want to use it with a transparent background, and we'll talk more about how to do that later. If you look at the second iCab logo, the one that's white, notice that there is no box around it. That's a ping that has a transparent background. Now you can't make a transparent background with a JPEG. So whenever you need that transparent background, you're going to want to use a ping. Another image format is a GIF. That's something that can support animated images, and if you look at the little dog over there at the bottom, notice that he can move his head and stick out his tongue and wag his tail. That's a GIF. You can make those in Canva. Mostly I think you will find GIFs elsewhere. So those are the 3 image file types that you probably need to know. One other thing to know is pixel, and it's usually abbreviated PX. That's a measurement that's used for digital images instead of something like inches, for instance. And it's based on all the little tiny squares that make up the image. So pixel is a common term that you probably will need to know. Once you've set up the basics of your page, the next thing you're going to do is to add the initial images. We're going to talk first about the profile photo, and you can see where I circled on the image there where you add that profile photo. It always crops to a circle, which can be a little challenging sometimes, but use a ping image that's at least 180 pixels square. Now, since that square image is going to crop to a circle, you want to leave some space around the image. So how do you get that image? Well, we can supply them to you, or you can use Canva to create an image of your own, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's one of the first things that you want to do, and you can change that profile picture whenever you want. But you can see on the image in that red circle where you add the profile picture. Then you'll add the cover photo, and that's the big photo that's at the top of your page. The cover photo is very, very important because it's one of the first things that people will see when they come to your page. Now, these cover photos can be kind of tricky. You want them to be a minimum of 400 pixels wide by 150 pixels high, and the file size is best at 100 KB or less. And that has to do with how long it takes the page to load. So you don't want a cover photo file that's several megabytes because it will take forever to load. Your cover photo will display on Facebook on a desktop at 820 pixels wide by 312 pixels tall. And when people access your page on a phone, that cover photo will display at 640 pixels wide by 360 pixels tall. That's on a smartphone. You'll want to use a ping image, and it's important to design with images in this safe zone, and that has to do with how the images change depending upon whether you're on a desktop, a tablet, or a smartphone. So you can see from that image there kind of where the safe zone is. So keep the things that you really, really want people to be able to see in that safe zone. You want to select something that's really going to communicate and engage people. And this is a photo that you probably should change fairly frequently and not leave the same one there all the time. So your cover photo is the next step. Here are a couple of examples of cover photos, and notice that there is some room on the sides so that we do have a bit of a safe zone on these examples. Once you've created your cover photo, then you have to add it to your Facebook page, and the process of adding it the first time is not very much different from editing it or changing it on a routine basis. So off in the right of your page's cover photo, where that cover photo is, you'll see something that says Add Edit, and you're going to click that. And then you can click Upload Photo in order to upload a photo from your computer. You can also click on Choose from Photos to use a photo that you've already uploaded to your page. Now, the reason that that's helpful is that you may want to kind of cycle your cover photos, which means that you can reuse one that you've used before. So after choosing your photo, then click the photo, and then you can drag it up or down to reposition it. And finally, you will click Save Changes. Underneath your cover photo, you will see an option for adding an action button. And I think this is kind of an important thing to do. You don't have to do it, but I would suggest that you do. You have lots and lots of options, which you can see from that menu there. And here's where you want to think about recruiting. I mean, yeah, you could ask people to follow you, but I think that would be kind of missing an opportunity. Here are a couple of choices that I think makes a lot of sense. One of them would be to send an email, and that email should go to you at your email address. And another one would be learn more, and that should probably direct to the iCab website. So take advantage of that action button that's right underneath your cover photo. Just click on it. Next, you're going to create the About section. So you will select About, and then you're going to select Edit Page Info. And you can go through the various categories in the About section. First, you will provide a description of the organization, and that should be specific to your area. Then you will add the website address. You can use the iCab URL, or you can use casaiowa.org, which takes them to the same place, to the iCab website. For location, you probably shouldn't use a home address. So if you don't have a specific office address, you can use the iCab offices. So on the page info in the About section, you can skip those things that really aren't relevant. There are a whole lot of other items that you can pay attention to in setting up a Facebook page. You probably do want to pay a little bit of attention to the privacy settings, but your page should be kept public. You can, if you want to, restrict your visitors to Iowa. That's a possibility. You'll pick Page Settings on the lower right and then edit those privacy settings as you choose, and the other settings as well. I would suggest that you keep this simple, but do pay some attention to notifications, because that's how you will get notifications of somebody who has posted or sent you a message. So now you have set up a Facebook business page. You have kind of the skeleton of a page, and the next thing you want to do is to publish your page, and you can see where that blue publish button is up in the upper right. So now you have a Facebook business page. The next thing you're going to do is to start posting. So how do you do that? Again, this is going to be pretty basic. You're going to click Create Post, then write your post. And you can add lots of things to your post. Notice where it says add to your post. You can add video, you can add a photo, various other things. So when you are done with the post, and when you've added whatever you want to add, then you're going to click Post at the bottom of that Create Post window. I want you to notice where it says Boost Post. And note that boosting a post is an activity that you have to pay for. That's advertising. And that's something that you can do. You just got to know that you have to pay for it. Now let's spend a few minutes talking about how to post video on Facebook. It's really very easy. There are two ways to post video on Facebook. You can post one that's on your own computer, or you can post one from YouTube. They're a little bit different, so we're going to cover them separately. So let's start by posting a video that's on your own computer. So take a look at where it says Create Post. Underneath that you see Photo/Video, so you're going to click on that. Facebook will take you to a folder on your computer, and you'll have to select the folder, and then find your video, and then click on that video, and Facebook will automatically start processing it. You might want to be aware of the specifications for videos on Facebook. The best formats are MP4, that's what most videos are in these days, MOV, and then the GIF, which we've talked about earlier, which is an image that moves. Facebook requires 4 gigabytes maximum, so you don't want to pick something that's too long or too large. And you might want to pay attention to the resolution. It should be 1080 by 1080 pixels. That's the minimum. Otherwise, it's not going to show very well. So once your video has processed, it will be there and it will play on Facebook without anybody having to click on it. Now, just a couple of other things to know about video on Facebook. You do have some options on a business page to do some things with video. If you see there while it's processing, you'll see something that says video options with a little pin. And if you click on that, you'll get to that lower image where you have options to do various things with your video. You can add captions, you can change the thumbnail, that's the first screen that comes up on your video, and you can change the optimization for different devices like phones and so on. So you do have some choices. Facebook has some other utilities that will allow you to do some editing, but I think that's probably beyond what we want to look at today. Posting a YouTube video to Facebook is a little bit more involved than posting a video that's on your own computer, but it's not particularly difficult. They're just a couple of steps. First thing you do is go to YouTube and locate your video. Then you open that video and you can let it start to play and then hit pause if you want so you don't have to listen to it. And then highlight the URL up at the top in that URL bar. Now while that's highlighted, you're going to right click with your mouse and then you'll see a drop down menu. And from that drop down menu, you're going to select copy. Now go to your Facebook page. You might want to have it open in a different browser tab. And while you're on your Facebook page, select Post, and then right-click again, and you'll get another drop-down menu, and select Paste. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now what that does, as you could see in the image on the lower left, is you'll see that YouTube link, and then you'll see a thumbnail to the video. Now the video doesn't play automatically. Users will have to click on it in order to play it, and then it will play. One other choice that, once you get experienced with this, that you could do if you want to, is to download a video from YouTube to your computer and then upload it back to Facebook. So how do you do that? Well, there are pieces of software out there, and quite a few of them are free, that will allow you to download videos from YouTube. One of the ones that I've used that seemed to work pretty well is Winx YouTube Downloader. Now, one of the things you have to watch for if you're going to do that is make sure that your video isn't copyrighted. I think that the question of how often to post is probably one of the main ones about Facebook and social media generally that people ask. I would say these things: don't post just to post, just because you think you're supposed to. Post when you have something good to post. I would suggest no more than once a day. You don't want to bury people with posts, but probably no less than once a week. You do want to keep your page fresh so it looks like there is activity there. Another question that you might be asking is, okay, so now I know how to post. What is it that I'm supposed to post? I would suggest that you look at other CASA pages for ideas. There are lots and lots of them out there. Just do a Google search and you'll find them. But here are some things that you might want to post. Be sure to respond to comments and try to engage with people when you can. You can post stories about your volunteers. You can post all kinds of educational information about the need for child advocacy or CASA volunteers or FCRB volunteers in general. You can post about various kinds of events that might be happening in your area that people who visit your page might want to attend or know about. You can post videos and photos and infographics of all kinds. You can post about accomplishments and achievements and awards that the organizations have gotten, whatever you think your visitors would be most interested in. Another thing you can post, and I want to just call this out because it's kind of fun, is quizzes. So how do you do a quiz, and why would you want to do that? There's lots of research that shows us that visitors love quizzes. People just love to take quizzes. Think about yourself and how often you may do a quiz if you happen to come across one on the internet. Quizzes can be used as an engagement tool. They're kind of fun, and because people like them and want to do them, you can actually engage people with your Facebook page by putting quizzes out there. You can also get information about your visitors. Now, I would be kind of careful about that because that's a privacy issue. So do that sparingly and don't make it required. But you can provide information to people through a quiz. You can, if you're careful and creative about how you structure a quiz and the kinds of questions that you ask, you can give your visitors information about CASA, about FCRB, about child advocacy, whatever information you want to provide. You can use an app called Quizzes for Pages, and that link will take you there. It's active. Quizzes for Pages posts directly into Facebook, and as far as I know, it's free. If you're interested in doing quizzes on Facebook, I did post a video on this page that you can watch if you like, so do that if you want to. There's more information out there than you can possibly imagine about best practices in posting on social media, which includes Facebook. So I'm just going to go through some basic kinds of things, and if you want more, it's pretty easy to Google because it's everywhere. So let's start with color and movement. Color and movement are really important because they capture people's attention. They get people involved. So the more you can use video, the more you can use these GIFs, which move, the more attention you are probably going to gain. Anything that is visual is also very important. The more photos you have, and they should be applicable, but photos, cartoons, memes, I'm going to assume that probably most of you know what a meme is, but we'll define it anyway. It's a humorous image or a video or a piece of text, something that is copied, often with some slight variations, and spread pretty rapidly, usually by internet users. And I put two of them over there on the right. I think they're both pretty funny. Anything that is funny, anything that's kind of whimsical, and I know we are dealing with serious topics here, but that doesn't mean that we can't put things on a Facebook page that have some humor behind them or that are a little bit whimsical. You can post interesting quotes of all kinds, and this might be volunteer quotes, volunteer stories, other information that is compelling, that things that may be kind of surprising to people, that would get them to sit up and pay attention because it's something that they don't know. So what about these things called hashtags? A hashtag identifies content that's on a specific topic, and the use for hashtags and the purpose of them is that you can get to content on that topic just by using the hashtag. I mean, that would be content on other people's Facebook pages. An example of a hashtag would be hashtag share a Coke. You can search for hashtags in the Facebook search bar, and they can be an engagement tool, but again, it's something that I would use kind of sparingly. But finally, a best practice is to keep your posts brief. people don't like to read anything that's real long. So keep your posts brief and keep them engaging. It's probably helpful to plan your posts ahead of time. And I would suggest that you spend some time on the internet reading articles that will help you know what works and what doesn't. That's kind of beyond the scope of our training here, but there's lots and lots of information out there about that topic. But set up a plan for posting. You probably want to have two parts to your plan, a content plan and then a schedule. When are you going to post? And make a plan for the content that you think you're going to post. And you might want to create a beginning set of posts ahead of time before you even create the page so that you have some idea of what you're going to do. And be sure in your plan that you vary the kinds of posts that you do so that you're using as many different kinds of things and different ways of posting as you can think of. But in the end, be sure that you follow your strategy. So how do you find things to post? Well, you can use what we supply. You can share from other CASA Facebook pages. FCRB won't have that option, but I gave you at least a look at how you do the sharing. Or you can create your own materials, and we're going to cover that next. Now we're going to spend a little time talking about creating materials in Canva. Canva is a web-based application, and it has a free version as well as a paid one. And the free version will probably be enough for most of you to create basic materials for your Facebook page. We're going to start our brief look at how to use Canva with another video. Right below this video, you will find another one that kind of looks like the image that you're seeing right now. And this is a 10-minute video tutorial on the basics of Canva. It's one of the best ones out there. I think you might find the narrator a little annoying, but it's a pretty good look at the basics of Canva. So what I would like to have you do is to pause this video and go look at the other one and then come back to this one when you're done. So the Canva video will take you about 10 minutes. Here are just a few tips about using Canva that may be helpful to you before the first time that you try to use it. Uploading the logos that you'll need ahead of time is probably a pretty good idea, because you'll probably use some of those logos with some frequency. You might also want to select some photos that you might want to use and upload those too. Canva offers some photos that may be helpful, and you can search those in that search bar. One of the things to remember is that Canva cannot add that blue screen that we use on some of our photos. You'll have to use Photoshop for that. There is a Photoshop clone out on the internet. It's web-based and it's free. That's called Photopea. And if any of you want to know how to do that blue screen, you should contact me and I will tell you and walk you through how to do that in Photopea. As a way to kind of try out how to use Canva, and obviously you have to create your account first, but you might want to try by creating your first Facebook cover. And one of the ways you can create it is to go to templates and then pick Facebook covers. Now here you can select a pre-made design, and once you have selected that, then you can modify that design to fit your needs. You can modify the background, you can modify the photos, you can modify the layout of that template. So that's a way to kind of practice with Canva so that you can see how to do one of those Facebook covers. Or you can select create a blank Facebook cover and start from scratch. I mean, you can start with a blank white background. But if you're going to do that, you need to be careful about the dimensions of the Facebook cover, and we kind of covered that early in the lesson. When you're finished with your trial Facebook cover, you can download it. You can download it as a PNG, as a JPEG. You can even download things as PDFs, but I think since we're doing a Facebook cover, you would want to download it as a PNG, so that's the choice you would select. Note that there is a place to check a box for transparent background. You won't need a transparent background on a Facebook cover, but you may need it on other things. So once you have downloaded your Facebook cover to your computer, then you can upload it to your Facebook page. Now let's go away from Canva and back to Facebook. You know the basics of Facebook and Canva now. One of the things that you might want to know is how in the heck do you edit or delete a post? Well, the first thing you do is take a look at the post and you'll see those three dots. Those are always important on Facebook. You'll see the three dots in the upper right-hand corner of your post. If you click on that, you'll get that menu that you can see there. And you can do all kinds of different things, including deciding who can comment on your post. Now, in your case, you want to keep it public, but you can edit the post. This is where you can delete a post. You can edit the date. You can do lots of different things. But I think knowing how to delete and edit the post is probably the most important thing. Now that you know how to set up your page, how to post on your page, and some best practices about posting, and you know how to find and create materials, let's talk a minute about how do you get visitors to your Facebook page. Here are some ways to do it. If you have an email list, you can invite the people on your email list. These could be current advocates, supporters, friends, whoever you think may have an interest in what you're doing on Facebook page. And you can ask them to like and share your posts, because when they do that off of their own Facebook pages, you probably will get more visitors. You can also use Facebook's community function to invite visitors. And again, you kind of want to be careful about that so that you don't have, that you're not inviting people who don't care. You can join relevant Facebook groups. There are all kinds of them out there. And on those Facebook groups, you can share the link to your page. You're going to want to keep your content fresh and interesting and interactive so that people will share your page. Posting when your audience is on your page is a good practice because this will help you get more visitors and keep the ones that you have. Facebook has a function called Facebook Insights that will allow you to get details about your visitors. And I think that once you have your page set up, you'll be able to find how to get to Facebook Insights, because it tells you a whole lot about people who have visited your page. And in a way, that's kind of scary. You can also advertise if you have a little bit of budget. I mean, you can do some Facebook advertising to get people to the page. Here are just a few other things that you can do. In fact, the first one you probably should do, and that's to familiarize yourself with the main navigation on Facebook. Notice that on the far right, those little dots, that will take you to the menu. The next one takes you to Messenger, where you can send messages. The bell, that's your notifications, and the heart will get you to the details of your account. You can also add tabs to your page to help visitors navigate your page. In order to do that, go to Page Settings, and there will be a place where you can add the tabs. You can also tag other pages that have relevant content for your visitors. These could be other CASA pages or pretty much any other pages that you think your visitors would be interested in, and this might help to expand your engagement. In order to do that tagging, you type the @ symbol and then the name of that page in a post. Not your own page, but the name of the page that you're tagging. Just now a caveat, you don't want to tag people on a business page. Probably don't want to do that. And always look for the three dots to get to More, where you can expand and see more features and more functions. There's really no substitute for practice and experimentation. Both Canva and Facebook are really relatively easy to use and easy to navigate. And there are all kinds of articles and everything out there, especially about Facebook, that can help you to do whatever you need to do. Facebook itself has lots and lots of information, step-by-step kinds of things if you forget what we've talked about here today. But practice and experiment with both of them. Just spend some time with them and look at what other people have done. And you can always ask us. Finally, here are just a few resources that you might want to take a look at. I would suggest that you go to Facebook and look at the tutorials that Facebook provides. We've covered the basic things here, but those Facebook tutorials can help you with all kinds of other things because Facebook has a lot of functionality. Now, I've given you links to 3 different blogs that I think will also help you. The first 2 have to do with how nonprofits use Facebook, and they have some pretty good tips. The third one has more to do with how you get more followers and how you improve engagement. So those will be resources that you can go to. So thank you for doing the training and thank you for listening and looking. And I again will offer support and help if you want it. Just contact me.